to the last block of sounds on the Digitech XP300 Space Station. This is one of my favorite pedals, not because I use it all the time or use it a lot, just because it's so weird. And when I do use it, the sounds are so expressive and they're very specific and they're distinct, and they're not the kind of things you're going to mix up or confuse for something else. I mean, some of them maybe approach other sounds, but a lot of these in here, it's hard to see how you would get other pedals to do exactly what this one does. If there are other pedals out there that do this kind of stuff, I'd love to hear about them. I always tell myself I have too many pedals, but then when someone tells me about something really cool, I find it hard to resist going out and buying it. So please let me know about other cool pedals that you feel like are in the same ballpark as the Digitech Space Station, because I'd love to try them out. There's 39 sounds on there, some of which are kind of overlapping or sound a bit similar. It does take a little bit of time to go through them all and just listen to them all. And that's why I've kind of broken it up into 4 sections, because I just want to be able to focus a bit. So the first 3 blocks, definitely check them out. There's videos for each of those, and I'll put the links in the comments below. The last block is what's called sonic, and these are resonators and arpeggiators. And if some of the prior blocks, sometimes some of the sounds on there, you could see how you'd use them subtly. Some you could see how you could use a bit more frequently, and some were just really confusing to feel. How could you use this in a song? It's a great sound, but how could you melodically wrap this into something else that was going on, especially with other musicians in the room? How could you do this convincingly? These ones, honestly, leave me feeling a little nonplussed, because some of them, especially arpeggiators, they're obtrusive, they're really out there. You can't kind of work around them. The arpeggiator is going to do something to that note, and it's, unless you're playing in that kind of a chord and harmonizing with it, there's going to be a clash of sounds. So let's go ahead and look at the first couple of these. It's weird. It's like you're hearing the sound through a long steel pipe or something, and it just adds this very strange metallic overtone to it. Definitely conjures a certain kind of emotion. It's almost like a kind of a kettle drum sound, which is super weird. It says it's an A resonator, and it has 1 and 5 written next to it. So I'm wondering whether that means it resonates best with the A chord and the 5 of A. So doing an E7 there. Versus, let's say, C sharp. And you can kind of feel that. So that's my A note, and then I'm gonna do a C sharp. You can still kind of hear the A note coming through there, so it does sort of resonate an A around that, which is just, okay. In what scenario would you use that? I mean, I'd love someone to tell me where I'm going wrong here, but that seems a little limited. And then 31 is a D resonator, and this is 1, 5, and 3, so I guess with D, it sounds that weird kettle drum metallic listening through a steel pipe sound, and sounds okay, quote unquote, on D, if something's coming through if somebody playing a kettle drum or steel drum through a steel pipe can sound okay in D. And then let's say you wanted to do that in C. So the C and the D are clashing. That doesn't sound too bad. Let's try a B. Let's try an A flat. So okay, there's certain chords that are going to work a bit better with the resonance. If you go outside of the diatonic chords in that key, maybe it's going to sound a bit more jarring. So this was saying 1, 5, and 3. So that's a 3 chord. And this is the 5 chord. So you can see how the resonator sounds a little bit more palatable when you stay in those kind of guide rails as opposed to just going wherever you want. C sharp minor, it's clashing a bit more, but it's like metal filings on a chalkboard, so it's hard to know where this would be most comfortable to use. 32 is a chromatic resonator. That's my dry sound. And that's the fully mixed resonator sound. I don't really hear any of that type of clash where if you're not playing a certain chord or one of the diatonic chords of that key where it's going to clash more. I don't really hear that. It sounds equally ugly no matter where you play this thing. And then 33 is an AG resonator. Of all the resonators, that's kind of the most palatable, especially if you're just using it a bit more subtly and rocking the pedal back so that you're mixing in a tiny piece of it and not going all the way out. On 33, the pedal is, rather than controlling the mix, is actually controlling the resonance. So it takes some of that sharpness away from that piercing kettle drum sound. So that one of all the resonators seems to be the one that you could probably be a bit more melodic in how you bring in. The rest of these, 34, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, the rest of this whole block are arpeggiators. Alright, let's expose you to those. And for all these arpeggiators, the pedal is going to control the input level. So with the pedal all the way down, there's nothing. You got to bring the pedal in to start bringing in that effect. So the first arpeggiator is going to go down. The next arpeggiator is going to come up in flat thirds, then in major thirds, then what's called dream. See what that sounds like. I have a feeling that's maybe whole tones or something, just like the whole tone scale. Then you've got fourths and fifths. Let's see what those sound like. So the first one is down. These are the weirdest effects on here because it's like playing a chord. So you play one note and it's going to play an entire chord. So I mean, personally, you know, how many times is that chord going to come up in the chord progression? Well, you better make sure you have your pedal ready to go for that one moment when you can hit that note and it's going to play the whole chord for you, because otherwise when it moves on from that chord to the next bar, good luck. And if you're playing jazz, well, this chord, it's probably going to come up maybe once every 32 bars. So be ready with the pedal. So it's a little hard to understand how some of these could be really that useful. So that's the downward arpeggio. And the next arpeggiator. Good God. So yeah, it's not gonna be used in a very melodic way. And then major thirds. And this one is called the Dream Arpeggiator. Yeah, so that's kind of what I expected. In fourths. Guitar teacher tells you, I want you to play around a circle of fourths, go. You're done. You just bring this pedal into the lesson and you're done. And likewise in fifths. So in a way, this is the least enticing block of sounds on here. I think the strings are the best. They're the ones that you're going to use a lot. Some of the reverse sounds are really cool. The alien modulation and pixelation sparingly at certain points. Number 26 for sure, definitely. That's kind of explosive and cool. But a lot of these arpeggiators, it's really hard to know how the hell you would use this other than in one scene of a movie to illustrate somebody having a dream maybe. And the resonators, I think there's a Radiohead song where there's some kind of similar effect being used. It has a certain close claustrophobic feel to it, so you can kind of see sparingly how it will be used. But of all 4 blocks of sounds on the Digitech Space Station, this is the one where you might not, it's not the part of town you're going to be hanging out in a lot. It's best to kind of explore the pedal in pieces and not try to go through all 40 of the settings in one go. Your brain's going to melt and you're going to just walk away thinking, how the hell am I going to use any of these? So if you just pick out 1 or 2, which is what I've done, I've picked out the strings and a couple of others that I've used over the years, and that is enough to earn this bulky pedal a place on my pedal board where real estate is in high demand. So the fact that even though this is pretty huge and I'm only using 1 or 2 of the 3940, it's still enough for me to want to bring to a gig, because as soon as I play 1 or 2 of those songs, I absolutely need that pedal and no other pedal's going to do it. So I think if you can get one of these, if you are a pedal connoisseur and you have money to spend on some of this, as I said in a prior video, these things can go from $500 up to $900. So you want to consider that and think about that. I've heard that Digitech have some clones or some modular breakaways that replicate some of these sounds. I'd be really keen to hear about that. Maybe there's a way to break out your favorite sounds, take up less space on the pedal board, and have something a bit more cost effective. It's the kind of pedal where you pay so much for it and it's hard to come by, and it needs its own special power supply, and you have to have a spare power supply because if the one that you have breaks, you can't play the show that night with that song on the set list, so you got to have a spare in your gear bag at home. And if the pedal breaks, you just got to take that whole song out of your set. It's that kind of a pedal. So yeah, I would love to know if there are replacements or alternatives to some of the patches that are on there. If you do have information like that, please, I'm all ears. Post in the comments below. Yeah, I put off talking about this pedal for a while because of how much there is in there. My brain's a bit melted. I hope yours is too, and that you're convinced that this is something you want to go and buy and explore. If you're an expert at this pedal and you have some advice for me on how to best apply some of the sounds, please teach me. I'm teachable on this stuff for sure. So that's all I got for this week, and if you like what you see on the channel, as always, hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit that bell icon to be notified when I post new content. And I'll see you again in the next video.